You know how like when you get a good take on film and you're like, okay, that's it. That was how I felt about that clap.
Yeah,
Like,
except usually after we get a good take on film, your answer is, I like that. One more for safety.
Because I just had so much fun doing it. I want to do it again.
You know what then? Then I guess you just have to, one more for safety.
All right, here we go. Oh, you know what? That was a good clap.
It's a good thing we did that then.
I felt even better about that clap. See, you do it twice, and you get something even better. Thank you for proving my point.
Welcome. You are entering into a strange dimension. A dimension where narratives from across space and time come together. Narratives that could have, might have, or should have been all exist here in one space. This is CineCasters Ultimate Timeline.
Hello, welcome to CineCasters, the show where we watch movies and repitch them. I am Nate Draper, and I am joined, as always, by my very good friend, Andrew DeYoung.
What up?
And today, we are doing the movie Men in Black.
Yeah, the first
from
Men in Black.
The first Men in Black movie.
97, I want to say.
97, yeah, directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. Based on the... I didn't know it was actually a Marvel comic.
Yeah, it's a several comics. There was also a TV show that was dope.
Was it the animated show you're talking about? I used to watch that, actually. That was a cool show.
I'm not going to lie to you. I think the show's better than the movie.
I remember I watched it as a kid. I really loved that show. I don't remember much of it, but I remember being really into it, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool show. It was based on the comic, and now we have 3 Men in Black movies, plus a 4th one called Men in Black International or whatever, which is apparently even more terrible than the second 2.
There's also, I think, another Men in Black movie with Josh Brolin.
Really?
Yeah, who plays K. I'm just Googling. I got with the Wikipedia
Yeah, isn't that
page
Men in
here.
Black 3?
Oh, that is Men in Black 3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's Men in Black 3.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Okay,
and then Sony was like, we'll do another Men in Black with Thor and Valkyrie. And then they did it, and it was like, I haven't seen it, but apparently it was terrible.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it either. I remember when 2 came out, because I think I saw 2 in theaters, or I saw it around the time it came out, and hadn't seen number 1, and then I thought number 3 was okay.
I haven't seen 3. Oh, maybe I have seen 3. I can't remember.
I don't really remember much of it.
Is 3 the one where they have that like 4th dimensional or like omnidimensional being that can see through all versions of reality?
I'm not sure. I just know he has to go back in time and find Kay in the past, and it's Josh Brolin. And the whole joke is like that Kay is still like kind of grumpy, and like even younger still kind of grumpy, and yeah.
And there's this like whole launch sequence, and I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't remember all the details of it.
All I remember is seeing number 2.
Men in Black.
Seeing the second one and going, damn, this is terrible. Like so much cheesier than the first one.
I don't remember much of the second one.
Well, maybe that's saying a lot that I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I've seen 2 and 3, and I don't remember much of either of them.
Yeah, exactly. Like even when I watched, because I had seen number 1, but even when I watched it this time, there was so much that it felt like watching it again for the first time, because there was so much I did not remember.
I can tell you, I remember the first one so well. I can tell you even where I watched it the first time. Like I can tell you exactly where I was.
Wow.
I was at my aunt's place in Montreal.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember some gags from the first one. I remember the gag, like him when he has to do the test and they're all in those like eggshell seats. And he pulls, like I remember that. I remember the little girl thing, like
where like
little gag.
He shoots the little girl. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Like I remember those gags, but when I was watching it this time, there was a lot that I was going, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't remember this happening. Yeah.
Well, tell me your goods and bads.
Anyway. Yeah. So, what worked? I mean, there was like I was talking about the gags. There are some jokes that I thought were hysterical. Like I laughed. Like one of my favorites was when the guys they go to find the guy who's trying to escape, and then his wife's giving birth.
Oh yeah.
And then Will Smith is holding this squid, and then Tom Lee Jones says, "Congratulations, it's a squid."
Yeah.
like
I like
a lot of it
was
his
pretty funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of like his just deadpan delivery. I thought that was pretty funny. And actually, another thing that I thought worked was Tom Lee Jones. I thought just his performance in particular stuck out to me, in terms of like that balance of humor and character. I thought he did a really great job with it. I like the concept. I think conceptually it's a very interesting idea. I like Danny Elfman's music.
I didn't even notice the music that much in this movie.
Okay, no, I mean I like the music.
Yeah, I did. I liked it too, but it wasn't like usually. I mean, Danny Elfman can be quite bombastic when he wants to be.
Yeah. The things I felt like with the movie, it's interesting because I really enjoyed parts of it. I feel like where it fell apart. So I'll get into what didn't work. I felt the Will Smith character didn't have really a strong through line. He kind of, and I think where I really started questioning it was when he's like erased from everything.
Yeah.
And I was kind of puzzled by that because I thought either that's something that I think someone would under normal circumstances would have to think about a little bit more.
Well, it's implied that he like sits on
it.
that bench from like the afternoon until like evening or like sunup or whatever, or until sundown. Yet I think it was until sunup. So he just like sat on a fucking bench all evening and afternoon.
It just changes his mind.
But no, it just like going back and forth deciding. So it's, I mean, but like when you just like show it in montage where you're like, now the sun is setting and he's still sitting there, like it's like great, good and great, but like it doesn't seem like he's thinking or even writing on about it. It's like, well, in order for the movie to continue, I guess this has to happen.
Yeah. So there was just some things with his character in particular, and it's not his acting. I just thought some of the just the story for where his character goes and the choices that he makes. I just felt like it didn't really. There was no arc to it. Let's say the biggest issue, though, I felt was the Laurel character, the medical
the coroner
examiner. Yeah, the coroner. I felt like just the whole thing with her, specifically at the end, like how she's suddenly an agent. There was just suddenly this, she's there, she's a character, and now she's it's implied that like now she's a big part of this, agent world, and she's replaced Kay.
There was this like weird romantic undertone between her and Jay where it was like, okay, but you're not allowed to have attachments, and are they friends or what? And then in the sequel, she's not even in it, by the way.
So that's bizarre too. Anyway, I just felt like, and I felt the ending for the movie, where it got to, I thought it was kind of, I don't know, it didn't seem like there was all these things all these elements came together. It was, okay, we're trying to find this guy who eats people and wears their skin, and then we're trying to find this thing called the galaxy, and now we're trying to rescue someone who was really not important. A central character. Yeah, exactly.
Not important for the narrative.
They have to rescue.
By the sake that they're like intergalactic cops, like that makes her important in that way. But it's like this isn't the only reason that we, the audience, have any stakes in this is because we've met her before, but like she's not really important to the story.
Yeah, exactly. And then, that's more or less it. Yeah, it was a really hard thing to pinpoint, but I felt like it was just, there was a lot of elements that were there, and I think the biggest thing that was missing was having some kind of goal and need for the Will Smith character, that by him joining the Men in Black, there was something that he needed to resolve in his personal life. that would have been maybe a solution to it.
I don't know if I fixed that in my pitch, but like for me, the things that really like worked, I thought the physical comedy was pretty fun. I'm not a huge fan of gross out comedy, like just being covered in slime and stuff like that, or going like ew. And they do that a lot in this movie, where they're just like, oh, we'll just cover them in slime, and everyone will go ah because of the spectacle. It doesn't really work for me, but some of the parts really had me laughing. One part in particular I thought was really funny, where they're in the car upside down. Like that's just a good bit of physical humor, where like Will Smith is, but they're all, and like Tommy Lee Jones is listening to Elvis, and he's like singing along while upside down while Jay is struggling, and you're like, okay, this is pretty funny. And then he goes like, Elvis is dead, right? And he's like, nope, he just went back home. And I was like, that's funny. That's funny. This whole scene really worked. But you're right, like these comedic bits were really strung together by very loose threads. Like it does feel almost like a fetch quest. Like they're just like stringing very tenuous bits of plot together in order to get to these. To me, it feels like this was probably written and rewritten once or twice by different writers.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it, but that's what it feels like to me. Like we were starting out with a clear idea, and then somebody wrote, and then somebody rewrote, and then somebody rewrote. And that's why we get with this weird dismembered, segmented, refracted story. I will say that I do think Vincent D'Onofrio as Edgar / the Roach Man actually fucking kills this, because he's like comedic. Yeah. He's comedic in the way he moves, but in a way that's like scary. Yeah. I think he did a good job too. Yeah, I actually think this is super underrated. I mean, he's gone off to do some crazy stuff with like Law and Order, and he was in The Punisher, and he was in Jurassic World.
He was in
not The Punisher,
Full Metal Jacket, wasn't he?
I don't know about that. I've never seen Full Metal Jacket.
He played and
he was in Daredevil, of course.
I think that was his breakout role, was the guy in Full Metal Jacket who basically just gets the shit kicked out of him.
Oh man!
And then commits suicide in the bathroom.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's intense. Yeah. I think that's him.
But I mean, I know him.
Yeah, that's him. That was his first big breakout role, was in Full Metal Jacket.
I know him most famously.
Oh, we have the same birthday too. Look at that.
Oh, well, there you go. I know him most famously as Kingpin from the Punisher and Daredevil TV shows. More prominently in Daredevil. Okay. He is fucking great in that show.
Yeah.
He's a really, really great actor, and I think he doesn't get enough spotlight. He was great in this. I thought he was funny, and I think it's a shame when they took the Roach costume off, but whatever. The human costume off. I liked the parallelism between like Kay looking for a new partner, and because his old partner left, and then they do the exact same scene at the end when he's like, I'm not looking for a partner, I'm looking for a replacement. Like, I felt like the way that you were talking about how the Will Smith character doesn't have like a through line in terms of narrative, there really is a good through line for the Tommy Lee Jones character, for Agent K, as he develops throughout the story. Like, we see him as this like sort of hard ass, but then we see he has this wife he left behind, and he gets to go back to her, and it's subtle stuff. Like, the movie doesn't spend a lot of time on it, but at least we have some kind of motivation. Something like that would have been nice for Will Smith's character.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
This movie was, I enjoyed myself with this movie, but it was okay. There's some glaring issues in the movie, but it's easy to laugh them off because this movie is fun.
Yeah.
You want to do your pitch or me?
Cool. I'll go first. Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because as I thought about it more, there were so many directions you could go with this.
Yeah.
The one thing I thought was really interesting was the whole flashing thing and losing your memory. And then, because he asks at one point, did you ever use that on me? And he goes, no, I didn't. And I thought it is played for comedic effect, and it works in the context of the movie. But I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if...
You're about to get all Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind on me, aren't you?
Oh, I was thinking some kind of like Nolan. So I went a little bit more of that direction with this. Anyway, so it's, in my version, it's the same opening, but instead of the alien from another planet being someone who's trying to cross into America, it's actually one of the police officers. Yeah, I thought that'd be much more interesting. He shows up.
Yeah.
You play it so it's like, oh, one of these people trying to immigrate to America as an alien, but then it's actually like he turns around and he pulls one of the officers aside. And he's like, hey, what's going on here? And then it essentially plays out the same way. D has a hard time firing his weapon. Anyway, but then and then K shoots the alien. But then I added another scene afterwards where it's D actually talking to K, and D is like is really questioning like what happened and opts for retirement. And it make it a little bit more explicit that like, okay, when you retire, your memory is wiped.
Yeah.
And so everyone knows that at a certain point they're going to forget everything.
Yeah.
And so then the whole movie becomes a question of like, well, what's the point? Like, what value are the experiences you have if you can't remember?
If you can't remember them. Ooh.
Yeah. That's where I was trying to go. I don't know if I quite got there, but that's sort of
this
what
is
I
like,
was
yeah,
trying
this is
to
exactly
shoot
like
for.
what if Christopher Nolan had shot Men in Black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in that case, it's very much of like an Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in this version, yeah, so he requests to be retired, and then Kay performs the flashy thing on him. Anyway, then it cuts directly to Will Smith dressed in a suit, and they're having like lunch or something. And Jay, the Will Smith character, is telling him this story. And throughout the scene, you see Jay, like, we know it's Jay's first day. Yeah. Because he's basically Kay's new replacement partner. And Kay is lost in, like, he's thinking about something. Anyway, Kay asks Jay about something about, like, do you ever think about, like, do you think you're going to miss being a police officer with real people? Like, what you're about to do is going to be like, it's not like anything you've done before. And he's like, do you think you're going to miss it? And Jay's like, no, I'm looking forward to something new. And Kay says, like, I wonder sometimes, like, I'm thinking it would actually be nice to forget. Like, there's this implication that he's seen some shit. Yeah. Anyway, so then it goes, they're going out on a case to investigate a report. Someone says that there was someone else wearing her husband's skin. So they're like, okay, this is some kind of paranormal thing. They go and they meet the character whose husband has been basically, they refer to them as snatchers. I was going to insert some kind of like body snatcher joke here.
Yeah.
Anyway, she explains, like, yeah, there was some, like, my husband disappeared, but before he disappeared, it was not my husband, it was somebody else. Something else. Yeah. So then they use the flashy thing on her, and this is when Kay explains to Jay how it, like, you know, how it works. Anyway, so then there's a scene of them driving away, and Kay explains, like, okay, so my experience tells me that this woman's husband has likely been taken by a snatcher. But what's strange about it is snatchers usually, what they do is they try to multiply. They try to take one person and then but this just seems to be one person. So this is uncharacteristic behavior. I'm not entirely sure what this is about. And then they go back to headquarters. And then when they're back in headquarters, now we see headquarters for the first time. It's kind of the same thing. They meet Z, but in my version, he's Canadian and insists that he's called Zed.
Yes.
Anyway, and Zed tells them about a mass. He's noticed there's a whole bunch of aliens who are like applying to leave the planet, and they're like, this is something's going on. Like, we don't know what it is, but this is like, there's a whole bunch of aliens that are trying to leave. We want to figure out what's going on. Just like when you're out there, if anything comes up, let me know. Anyway, as they're about to leave, Zed pulls Jay aside and is like, just keep an eye on Kay for me. After his last partner was retired, he's been acting a little strange. I just want you to keep an eye on him for me. Anyway, Kay and Jay drive, and Jay starts talking. They have another conversation, and Jay's like, it seems weird that, like, with all of this that's going on, more people aren't aware of it. And Kay basically says, like, and mine's set in the present day. So
Okay, yeah.
there's, so basically Kay says like, well, part of the reason why that's the case is because all the technologies used to distract people are alien inventions. Aliens brought them here with the express purpose of distracting everyone. Social media, cell phones, television, these are all alien inventions that are used to distract people from what's exactly that were actually used to distract people from what's going on. It's all been engineered this way. Anyway, but Jay says like, but still, like, why wouldn't they want us to know? And Kay basically gives the same monologue, like, people are collectively conditioned to treat outsiders like a threat. We're not doing it to protect the people on Earth. We're doing it to protect those who come from other worlds to Earth as refugees, because Earth in this intergalactic space is like a neutral zone. And so it's a safe haven, basically. Anyway.
You're getting dangerously close to my pitch.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm surprised that it hasn't, it's interesting that it hasn't happened yet. Maybe this is the first time it'll happen where we end up crossing over on something. Anyway, so he also makes an offhanded reference about like trying, like, there are like escaping from the past, and but Jay doesn't really pay much attention to it. And Jay concludes it by saying, like, I think we could have a little bit more faith in people. Maybe people aren't so paranoid. Maybe there's room for a bit more faith in humanity. Anyway, so Kay and Jay, they keep following the Snatcher. It leads them to the morgue where the people were just killed in a diner. And then it's the scene where one of the guy's head opens up and there's the alien inside, and it says like, the galaxy is on Orion's belt. The medical examiner is there. She's just here for this scene in this movie. And so they wipe her memory and they go. And as they're leaving, Jay asks Kay, like, did you ever use that on me? And Kay says, no, I never did.
Or did he?
So anyway, and then Kay starts thinking a little bit more like, okay, so this Snatcher is like, so who came to Earth, killed 2 people, is obviously looking for whatever this thing is, this galaxy on Orion's belt. What's like, there's something else that's going on. Anyway, they go back, they're requested to go back to headquarters, and Zed has received a message from the Intergalactic Space Authority saying that Earth is actually harboring a wanted fugitive, and that it is in danger of violating intergalactic treaties. And so Zed tries to plead with them, like, no, like, we're not harboring anybody, like what's going on? Anyway, Jay asks, like, so what happens if we violate a treaty? And then at that moment, there's a message saying that the threat level of this wanted fugitive is so high, and that this individual is so dangerous that they are actually presently seeking authorization to blow up Earth. Sorry. The risk is too great.
I just love
Jay says, like,
we're going to blow up the Earth, sorry.
Yeah, that was one gag in the movie that I thought was pretty funny, so I tried to put it in here. Anyway, and Jay's like, well, that seems a little extreme. And Zed says, like, oh, they've been trying to blow up Earth so they could put an interdimensional wormhole through.
Hey, I thought you were going to say Highway because of Douglas Adams. Hitchhiker's Guide.
It was a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. I just switched it a little bit. Anyway, and then Zed's like, you remember, like, the space program? You know how, like, we used to have this appetite for space travel? We went to the moon, and then what happened? Like, why did we lose our appetite for space travel? Well, we didn't. What happened was the intergalactic, when they saw us leave Earth and land on the moon, they showed up and said, all right, no more. You're not allowed to leave because you people are way too dangerous. Huh. So they've never liked us from the beginning. The one thing I realized with my pitch is it's never really explained, like, if humans are so dangerous, why they've allowed a neutral zone to be on Earth. But
whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so Kay and Jay explain, like, okay, well, this fugitive, that's probably the guy that we're after. That's probably the guy we're trying to find. So Zed's like, okay, well, you better find him before they finish filling out the paperwork to blow up Earth. So they eventually figure out, like, oh, okay, this Orion's belt, it was the cat. They go back to get the galaxy off the cap, but they're too late. Actually, what happened was the Snatcher had already gone and got it, and is actually trying to break into. They figure that out, but they've missed the guy, and then they're like, okay, where did he go? And they figure out that he's actually gone to the Men in Black headquarters to try and basically sneak onto a ship to escape Earth. So So they end up racing back, and there's, it's like in the Men in Black headquarters, and they, it's a chase scene, and they actually catch him. So they catch him, and then they interrogate him, and this is the interrogation scene. And when they're interrogating him, like they use some device that basically gets him to reveal his real form, and it's a cockroach kind of thing. Not as big, it's like a human-sized kind of cockroach. And they're like asking him, so they confiscate the galaxy, and they're like, okay, we have to hand you over to the authorities, but like are there more of you? Like what's going on? And the cockroach, this alien says, like, my planet's dying, and I was actually supposed to, those two people were going to sell me this thing. It was going to be a fuel source to like help keep my planet alive. And he's like, we made this, your planet is making the same mistake that my planet made. We exhausted all our resources, and now we're dying, and we needed this to stay alive. And he says, I didn't kill those two other aliens. They were actually killed by agents from the Intergalactic Space Authority, because they think that my planet should not be allowed to have that device that's going to power everything for us. And basically he pleads with them. He's like, please let me go and take this and allow me to take it, or else my whole planet, like, they are depending on me for our survival. Anyway, as at that same moment, two other agents show up, and they're like aliens, but they're dressed in suits, and they're like, oh, we're from the Intergalactic Space Authority. We're going to take over from here. And we just have to like ask, we're gonna take it from here. Anyway, K and J then debate about what to do, and they're like, because they've confiscated the galaxy, and they're like, do we hand it over? And J is like, no, we shouldn't hand it over. Like, we can't let this, like, his whole planet's gonna die. And K's like, yeah, but if we don't, they may blow up Earth. Like, we would be still held in contempt of not following through. So basically Jay's like, okay, but then, like, is it right then to doom someone else to save ourselves? Like, we're still, like, we're letting somebody else die? Anyway, K says, like, when he was younger, when he was about Jay's age, he said, I was in a similar experience to this, and we had to hand over a group of like children aliens over to these space authorities, and it was the same situation. They were going to blow us up if we didn't hand them over, and I protested, but they eventually convinced me to do it. And I think that even though it was like, yeah, it sucks, but this is what we have to do. And he says, remember how I told you that, like, it was just people that were paranoid? Well, turns out that paranoia is a universal constant with any conscious life form. Like, anytime anything in the universe becomes conscious, it becomes afraid of things. And we've all just got to play it. It sucks, but this is what we've got to do to continue in order to preserve life on this planet. Anyway, Jay tries to sneak the galaxy out. He basically tries to break this cockroach out and the galaxy out, but K actually stops him. And in the midst of this chase, K reveals to Jay, like, he's like, look, there's in the building, there is a file of what your life was like before. Remember when I told you that I never flashed you? I lied.
Yeah.
When you signed up for this, I erased all of your memories of what your life was like before. You don't want to know what your past was. He's like, but if you want, like, that's what you're effectively, that's what you're running from.
Yeah.
We're all trying to run from the past, and I am trying to run. I'm not happy with what I'm doing at this agency, but I have no choice. And the thing that we have to look forward to at the end of this, when we retire, is we can forget everything. So K ends up getting the galaxy from J, and they hand the cockroach snatcher character. Oh, I called him Bill. Eventually I was like, I should give him a name. I just called him Bill. So they hand Bill over to the Intergalactic Space Authority. But K still feels bad about this. So K basically after this, K's like, I'm retiring. That's the last time it's like, I've done this too many times where we've basically just given over our authority to the intergalactic space treaty, and I've had enough. So the film ends with J wiping K's memory, and then J finding the file on him and considering opening it.
Ooh.
And it's like, oh, does he open it
That's
or
dark,
not?
man. You're on, like I said last week when we did cast, do you need to talk to someone? You're on a dark streak. Maybe we should go back to doing Disney animated movies, because you're usually like, I'm going to end this one on a bright note because it's supposed to be for kids.
But this isn't supposed to be for kids. None of the last movies we did were supposed to be for kids.
This movie's probably somewhat for teens. But that doesn't mean it is thoughtful. I like what you've done. One of the things that I thought you were going to do was when you had when you said like the Intergalactic Space Authority said they were harboring a criminal. I thought you were gonna make the criminal turn out to be J, and K had been flashing his memory to stop him from committing terrible crimes. But
that's interesting.
Trying to use, because when you really think about it, the neuralizer, the memory Vooper, is actually the most powerful weapon in the arsenal of the Men in Black.
Yeah, exactly.
You could do a lot with that.
Exactly, yeah. And that was it was one of those things, when I finished writing it, I was like, oh man, if I had more time, I'd do it again and explore that a little bit more, because I think that's really interesting.
Because you could do some layers on layers, who's been brain panning who.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then for this, to go the comedic direction with that, it becomes then everyone's forgotten everything.
Yeah.
That was when I was thinking about it more. I thought wouldn't it be, you could then take that, because Nolan would do that, and then it'd be a whole question of memories. But the comedic flip of that is someone says oh, I wiped your memory, but then somebody else is like, oh yeah, but I wiped your memory, so you don't even remember what's going on. And then somebody else says, yeah, but your memory was wiped too. So then it becomes this whole thing of
and
everyone
has any idea what's going on. You could make a really hilarious thing where they're like, yes, we're super important secret agency bent on keeping the world safe and keeping aliens safe while they're here on Earth so that nobody knows, but none of us have any idea what's going on because we accidentally erased. So we're we know there's a fugitive, but we don't know anything about him because we all forgot.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Could be funny.
And you can play. That would be pretty funny. Yeah.
And then you just put the fugitive as one of the members that we've been following the whole time, but he doesn't remember either.
Right. Oh, that'd be an interesting idea for a movie, an agency, forget Men in Black. You could do it far enough removed from Men in Black so that it's not.
Yeah, it's just humans.
I wouldn't be sued for copyright, but it'd be about an agency that's responsible for finding people who have who discover dangerous things and wiping their memory.
Yeah.
But the people who run the agency, because they know too much, are constantly having their memory wiped, and so it's just this agency of people who've forgotten why they exist.
Yo, and you could basically just make the entire movie searing indictment on bureaucracy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, that could be a hilarious movie. This is why we do this show. Come up with great ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
My pitch is
now it's
different.
Out. Okay.
Oh, sorry, you were going to say?
Go ahead. I was going to say, well, now we've just come up with this concept. It's free for anybody listening to steal it.
Yeah, steal it. As long as you make a good movie out of it. Because if I wind up having to do that movie on CineMasters, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be 5 years from now, I'm going to be this movie is familiar. I feel we pitched it 5 years ago, and now here it is on CineMasters, so you didn't do a very good job. Anyway, my pitch is very different.
Go ahead.
The thing that I tried to... Maybe I'll just get into mine. So we the movie starts out with, and we'll see if you can catch the themes. The movie starts out with Agent K and Agent D. They're doing the same opening at the American border, and D says, he's time for him to retire. He gets his memory erased. We then cut to Will Smith's character. He's on police pursuit, and he's chasing down this ne'er-do-well, except this time the guy is clearly not a white dude that he's chasing down.
Okay.
Like, he's just not white, not Caucasian. So, he then pleads with Jay. He says, if I get booked, the men in suits will come after me. And then his eyes can do the blinky thing. And Jay's like, whoa, okay, well, maybe you should have thought about not breaking the law if you knew the guys in suits were coming after you. And the guy's like, no, you don't understand. The guys in suits will come after me if I get booked. They'll know I'm here. And Jay's like, no, like, I can't just let you get away. And the guy says, then I have no other choice. And he steps off the building. Mm-hmm. Right? And smashes. So then Kay shows up and he wipes Jay's memory, and he's like, what you did today was pretty incredible. He's like, hands him a card and says, you've been selected. I'll see you bright and early at this place. So Jay actually goes, he's not Jay yet, but Will Smith goes to the headquarters, and we get the whole selection thing that happens the same way, like with the chairs and the shooting, because I actually think that's really, really funny. But I think it would work.
I thought it was funny too.
Yeah, I think it'd work better if they see like, oh, when they're watching, they're like, actually, we're going to pick Jay because he's okay with doing things outside the box. He pulled the table over. You know what I mean? He was resourceful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he even asked other people if they wanted to get in on it too. Right? So we can tell he's like a team player. Then when he shoots the little girl, they're like, oh shit, like he was the only one who was like looking for things that were out of the ordinary. He wasn't just shooting monsters.
Exactly.
He saw like, but I would make it a little more obvious. Instead of just like a little girl, I would make it more like a little girl, like, where she is, like in the hood, but also with quantum physics, and it's just like something is clearly off about that. Like, it's just right. Whereas the other ones were just vague alien monsters, and then they can be like, no, he's passed the test. Like, he has a good eye, because I really think that was really good. So the difference here is that instead of a bunch of aliens trying to get off the world, there's all of a sudden a huge influx of aliens trying to get onto Earth. They're all going through proper channels, and they're having a huge trouble with like immigration. So MIB headquarters is like very clogged up, and they've gotten to the point where they're actually having to decline people because there's so much influx, because they can't raise suspicion. So as a result, they're actually starting to like push, like tell people, no, we don't, you're declined. So aliens have started actually illegally immigrating onto planet Earth. So J and K actually intercept one, and they can do the whole birth sequence, but this time it's with a dude who's trying to get into the city, not out of the city, after he landed on an illegal transport. So it's at this moment, after the birth squid thing, we get a scene where an illegal ship lands, and they do the whole farmer thing, like with Edgar and Vincent D'Onofrio. MIB notices the transporter, but instead of intercepting, they're like, it's just another transporter. It's nothing. We're just going to have to go after it. So we get the body snatch sequence with farmer Vincent D'Onofrio. He then makes his way into the city and starts pinpointing out particular aliens and killing them. So it's at this point that we see a couple of the murders start happening, that Kay realizes that the aliens that are murdered are not the same species, but all the aliens that have been coming into the planet and the ones that are murdered are all from the same galaxy. They're all illegally trying, and all the ones who've been influxed who've been trying to get in are all from the same galaxy. So something's weird's been going down. So they track down Frank, that's the dog. The dog.
The talking dog.
The talking dog. They track down Frank, and basically discover that this roach-like alien species from that galaxy has started a genocide of species. They're cleansing all the other aliens from that galaxy. And this has caused a huge amount of displacement in the galaxy, and because Earth is seen as insignificant enough, a lot of aliens have been attempting to try and take refuge here. Because they're like, no one will notice, because humans are boring, and we don't space travel. So K and J then realize that one of the cephalopods, the roach people, has landed and is systematically killing off the aliens from that galaxy as part of the genocide. So this is a problem for MIB, as the killing is illegal. We don't killing. But also it's drawing attention. The aliens' deaths are starting to draw attention. So MIB is like in full scale, like scrambling to keep this all quiet as this roach man goes on the rampage. So K and J then meet a young female alien from the galaxy who just landed on a transport and was split from her parents, who actually is one of the people that we just saw Edgar murder, the Roach dude murder.
Right.
Okay. And so they're like, shit, well, what do we do with this girl? So she's frightened. Her name is Euphemia. She's frightened, but they tell her, stick with us. We're MIB. And so she's like, okay, like I'll stick with you until we find my parents. They know that her parents are dead. They haven't told her yet.
Okay.
So the Roach finds them, and J and K manage to protect her while dealing with him. They fend him off, but like the whole New York street gets pretty messed up. So then they tell Euphemia that her parents did pass away. And so she's like, well, I'm assuming she's like maybe 16. She's like, maybe 16. So she's like, this is ridiculous. Like, others will die until we can stop the Roach Man. So she agrees to be bait for them. The finale plays out similar but this time Euphemia being the bait as the Roach Man tries to like kill her. But and at the end, the whole thing plays out the same way, but at the end, it's Euphemia is the one that saves J and K as she uses the gun. Mm-hmm. And so they get back to MIB, and K and J are basically like bullshitting. They're like trying to vouch for Euphemia so that she can like not get deported. And so they manage to like fix it up so she can stay, but MIB like Zed and other MIB agents are like, "Whoa, this is pretty crazy." Like, but they managed to get it so she can stay. But she's upset because many of her fellow aliens from the galaxy are actually and will still be deported because of Earth's harsh immigration policies. So she wants to like the fact that Earth chooses not to tell the world about aliens means that it is unwilling to take in refugees. It's not that we can't tell the world, it's that our MIB laws say that, we should keep this from the world, and this is a choice. It's not because people are dangerous, it's because we choose to keep them in the dark, and this means our immigration laws and refugee laws are so stringent. It's nothing to do with anything other than the politics of how MIB wants to run things.
Wow.
That's the only reason. And so basically they're saying like, because of your immigration policies, anyone you deport, you are condemning to that genocide that's going on in that galaxy. They might get free, but here we know they would be free. But because you won't let them in. So Kay hears this and he's like, well, it sounds like you've got a pretty good thing going on, right? Like you have a reason to be here to join MIB. And he says, I haven't been looking for a partner, I've been looking for a replacement, and I think you two are the perfect team. So he retires, and then we see he's like, basically Jay has the skills, but Euphemia has the conscience. She's the one, who keep things going. And so then Agent J and his new partner Agent E, who's Euphemia, as the newest member, and she's like a rookie member because she's quite young, except it's different for aliens because she's like 16 in Earth time, but is actually like 32 in her alien time.
Right. Okay.
Right. So she's the newest member, and we can see like she's like, I'm gonna change policies from the inside of MIB as I track down and be an awesome alien cop, and that's the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So I like that you fixed that that character basically from the original.
Which character?
Well, I guess you've kind of switched out who's the coroner from the original with Euphemia.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good choice because she also has more, in what you've done, more agency. Like she's actually worked, like from the minute you meet her, she has a goal.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and that whole thing is set up. But what I really wanted to do is I thought like, isn't it funny that we're talking about illegal immigrants in the first scene?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But like playing on the word alien is really what I wanted to do with this. Like, let's play with the word alien. Yeah. Let's talk about why people push away refugees. Because it's the only reason is usually because of political selfishness, not because they're not. Because you really can do a lot.
Yeah, no, I thought that was smart too. Yeah. And I was surprised that it didn't. Those themes were not more developed in the original because to me it's very clear from the beginning.
Yeah, that's what the idea was. Like the illegal immigrant, and then he opens the door and it's an alien, and you're like, oh, okay, so alien. Okay, I can see where. And then they don't really do anything with that.
Yeah, exactly. So
especially because they really could have done something interesting in terms of how. To get political, in terms of how like Edgar takes or Vincent D'Onofrio's character is body snatched, but he is a farmer representing like white conservative America. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how that could play into this idea of racism as he tries to hunt down aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. That's also very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, I'm quite partial
Excellent.
to this pitch. I think my pitch was pretty good. Your pitch, I think, has a lot of potential. If you were to hand that to me as a pitch, I'd be like, okay, well, I actually like this memory neuralizer direction you're going. I think we should lean on that heavier.
Yeah, I would. Mine's a little bit disconnected and convoluted, and I think would have benefited from another pass for sure.
Yeah, but as a pitch, like immediately I was intrigued. Like, oh, this memory thing, we should lean on that heavy. But as as a first like basic rough idea, I mean that's what a pitch is, right? It's like give me what you're, in so many words, give me what you're going for. And I was like, there's something there to yours. Okay, I think the memory thing would be really cool. I'd be willing to put that in the back pocket and try and write something that way.
Yeah. Well, I think I would go with doing the whole thing with a bureaucracy that exists to erase people's memories of things.
Yeah. Well, I think playing with memory is always fun, particularly when you play with memory as the camera. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like when you cut to certain places, because you can just do that. You can just be like, instead of showing something and then have all the characters forget it, you just cut and be like, oh shit, it's been 3 days and nobody noticed because their memory was all erased. And then you go back and show what they all forgot but you just cut to certain points. And the reason this is very Nolan. The reason you cut is because nobody remembers. So you're only showing what the characters remember.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you're getting that really subjective experience of, of memory. Yeah. I mean, one film that plays with that idea is the Hangover movies.
Yeah. Which is super interesting. Never thought we'd be talking about
the Hangover movie plays with that whole idea of memory and experience.
And it does it really well because you never actually see what they did unless it's through pictures or video or they don't even flash back to it. It's just now we have to unravel this mystery of where the fuck the guy who's in all the Hangover movies is, but isn't actually part of the Hangover movies because he's not funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and the payoff with those movies, at least, I've only seen the first two, but the payoff is at the end when they find the photos and they're like, oh, this is what happened.
Yeah.
And then
the first one I think is for sure crazy. Really funny. I did not enjoy the second one, so I didn't watch the first one.
I thought the second one,
the third one.
Yeah, no, the first one's, I think the first one is brilliant, actually. I think it's a really smart comedy.
Yeah.
But the second one's so.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I never
just
watched
in
the
Bangkok.
Third one. Yeah, I never watched the third one. I had no desire.
I didn't watch the third one either. Yeah, but I think the first Hangover movie is a very smart movie.
Yeah, actually. I never thought about it that way, but the way it plays with memory as both a narrative device, but also as a filmmaking device, also as like a cinematographic cinema, the way it's shot.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's basically it's any sort of mystery story. It's like, okay, we have to find our friend. We have to solve a mystery. But
we were all there. We just got
characters,
super high on whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's all. I mean, the inciting incident is they just got completely smashed to the point where they've had so much substance in their bodies that they've forgotten what happened.
Yeah.
And so it's basically it's a comedy in the sense that the whole premise is predicated on the fact that they were completely inebriated, that they can't remember what happened.
Yeah.
But at its very core, it's a mystery. It's these people trying to solve a mystery of. But what's so interesting is like they're trying to remember what they themselves did.
Had done. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting is that we're not even doing that movie right now, but we're talking about it. I think it's interesting on The Hangover particularly because the comedy in a situation like that is usually played like, well, let's show what they did. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Let's show the crazy stuff they got up to. That's the movie right there. But instead you go, no, the movie is after that. And that's so interesting.
Exactly.
I really don't think any other movie had ever done something like that before.
Not that I can't think of any off the top
you just
of
sort
my
of skip
head.
to 12 hours later and then try to rewind. I mean, Memento does that, but it does that in a very different way and for different purposes.
Memento is kind of like you've got two stories kind of going in reverse and they meet in the middle.
Whereas The Hangover is just like this gap in time that we, the audience, experience in time with the characters. Interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe that movie is smarter than I gave it credit for on a meta level.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, is it unintentionally smart? I actually think it is. Like, I've heard interviews with Todd Phillips, and I think he's a thoughtful guy. So, yeah, and I think, I do think it's a smart film. I don't think it's like an absolutely brilliant comedy, but I think those elements are there. And
it was when I was in high school. It was funny. It was funny. It's fun to quote.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I mean, watch. Yeah. And like now that we talk about it in filmmaking, I think it's a smart movie.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great film. Yeah, like it's I mean, like in that era. I mean, I remember like Superbad. I mean, okay, it's like Superbad's.
I like
not dealing with memory or anything. I love Superbad.
I think Superbad is probably a smarter comedy, not necessarily smarter in its filmmaking.
No, I agree. Like Superbad, I think Superbad's a really smart movie too. Yeah,
I think Superbad, when you get down to it, Superbad is literally just a coming of age story. It's the same thing we've seen since Stand by Me, which I maintain is the quintessential coming of age story movie.
Right. Yeah. It's Superbad's basically American Graffiti, but a bit more raunchy, I guess.
Stoner kind of comedy. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the storyline with Superbad that I love is the McLovin storyline.
Yeah, that's the best part.
With the police officers, that's the best. That's the best part. Yeah, Bill Hader and Seth Rogen.
If you've ever seen like interviews when they were talking about like making that part, so when McLovin is having sex with, I think it's Emma Stone's character. I think that's who it is.
No, it's not Emma Stone's character.
Yeah, they were. So in order to shoot that, because the actor who plays McLovin was underage, they had to be like very careful about how they filmed it.
Oh, funny.
Because like there are certain laws about how you depict underage actors. So if McLovin, the character, was of age, if McLovin, the character, was underage, but the actor was above age, then you can film it normally. But because the actor was playing somebody who was actually underage, and he was underage, they had to be very careful. So if you look at that scene, it's actually shot in a very clever way where like whenever the actress, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but the actress who's playing his partner, his sexual partner, whenever she's like moving or anything like that, the film is shot from his perspective so that you can't see him while she's on top of him.
Oh,
and when she is on top of him, she wasn't allowed to move, and he wasn't allowed to move, so it had to be like done very carefully. And if you look at it, it's like a really creative scene because they were so limited that you're like, oh, they had to kind of Jaws the way they did it because it was so limiting.
That's so interesting. I had no idea. Huh.
Yeah, pretty cool. But what did you think about Men in Black?
Yeah, I mean, I had fun watching it.
Yeah, I was honestly a little disappointed because I remember loving this series, this franchise when I was younger. I really liked the TV show.
But I think that was more the TV show, yeah.
But I wonder if the TV show colored my view of the movie. Because there's some really neat ideas in this franchise. I wonder if the comics are better. I haven't read them. But there's some really neat ideas here, and I just wonder how different this franchise could have turned out if somebody really thought about... I mean... We live in a world now where comic book movies are kind of very king. Like they do really, really well with all the superhero movies. Yeah. So I wonder if somebody was like, now MIB has a color past, and MIB International or whatever it was called did not do well apparently. But I wonder what it would be like to be like, let's do Men in Black, but with this history of comic book movies now. Like let's make it smart. Let's make it thematic. Let's make it... Because there's a potential for that. There have been some really great, smart superhero movies, comic book movies. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
My website, www.nathanieldraper.com, or Letterboxd at DraperNate.
Cool. You can find my band Robot Philosopher anywhere you listen to awesome music. Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, all there. And you can always check out more great episodes of CineMasters Ultimate Timeline, as well as our video essay series called This Is a Thing, and bonus casts will be coming where it's just Nate and I shooting the shit over whatever we wanted to shoot the shit over, usually philosophy, music, or movies. So look forward to those on the weeks that This Is the Thing isn't coming out. I know that sentence didn't really make sense, but stick around for awesome content, and we'll see you later. Peace.
See ya.